Great, just started.
Thank you. So happy Friday. Good morning, everyone. Today is Friday, April 18th, 2025. We're here for Forest Health Council, Colorado Forest Health Council legislative meeting. I am Chair Larimer County Commissioner Joy Shad McNally. I call this meeting to order, and let's do a quick roll call. Thank you.
Yes. Samantha Albert.
Morning, all.
Good morning, Samantha. Katie McGrath Novak.
Good morning.
Katie. Oh, there she is. Hello, Katie.
I just joined.
Perfect. You snuck in. Pat Dorsey.
Here.
Good morning, Pat. Christina Beery. Morning. Nice to see you, Christina. Commissioner Jody Shattuck McNally.
Present.
Good morning, Commissioner Mark Morgan.
Present.
Good morning, Mark. Julie Stencil.
I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning, Julie. Commissioner Veronica Medina.
Good morning, present.
Good morning. And Allison Lurch.
Good morning, everyone.
It's a full house. That's really great to see. Good morning.
That's great. Well, thank you all for being here today. We'll get through this as quick as possible to let you go back to maybe you're starting the holiday weekend or something. I'm going to go ride golf carts around the town of Lyons with the mayor of Lyons. So that should be fun. Do a little tour with her. So lots of fun times. So let's start with our agenda. I believe did we get to look at some of the minutes? I know Courtney sent those out for you to review early. Is there any additions or changes? Samantha.
Yeah, I was just noticed that my last name had an extra A at the end. So just asking that be updated. Thanks, Courtney.
Is your Samantha Alberta?
Yes, just Alberta, temporarily. Thanks, Courtney.
I see that and corrected it. Thank you.
Awesome. Any other changes or catches? Thanks for catching that. Okay.
I had one as well. I noticed Congressman Jeff Hurd's last name was spelled wrong. It's H-U-R-D.
Cool.
Gonna have to
I'm
hire.
apologizing. Huh? Go ahead, Mr. Morgan.
I was being smart aleck. Said you're gonna have to hire a new proofreader.
We'll need one, period.
Yeah, if I cough, I apologize. I'm getting over whatever nasty virus is going around, and it's left me this horrible nagging cough. So, well, with that, we have those two changes, correct? So I would welcome a motion that approves the minutes with those two changes.
So moved.
Is there a second? Great. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Is there anybody who is opposed? Any abstains? All right, great. We are moving on. Thank you all. So now we're looking at updates. So is James going to do that, or who's going to?
No, James sent, I emailed James yesterday, and he shared a small update that I can easily read, which is that all of the bills that we're tracking are stalled because of the budget consideration. So nothing has moved out of budget, and things are exactly, in the same standstill as they were 2 weeks ago.
Okay, great. Well, I don't know if he's tracking, but they just offered to do some pretty hefty tax incentives or tax breaks that is going to impact the budget with Senate Bill 280. So I'm hoping that maybe they can say, well, maybe we have some money somewhere that they can do that. Maybe they can fund our program. So just saying, and keep our other ones. So anybody have any other questions for Courtney on that? Okay. Well, as I know, it's kind of paused too, and it's going to be a interesting last I think it's 3 weeks left. And so it's going to be an interesting ride. For any of you interested with the homeowners insurance or some of the insurance things happening, I'm hosting the Colorado Insurance Commissioner in Larimer County on May 27th to come talk about wildfire mitigation and how that impacts homeowners insurance and wildfire. So if you email me I'm hoping it's going to be at our Office of Emergency Management, and it's going to talk about the two bills that are related to helping with homeowners insurance and the welfare risk modeling, and the other one is the enterprise and why those important. And so I'm going to get a virtual option, hopefully. So if you'd like to jump on and listen, please email me. And he's coming up to do that for me. He had done one in Jefferson County. So yeah, so that's important to kind of help everyone understand how this all works together. And then, as you all know, I will not be in person in Pagosa Springs. I appreciate Commissioner Medina hosting everyone. I'm really sad I can't come down and visit you in your county, though I've been through there and have friends and family down there. I will be at the Emergency Management Training Institute in Maryland with about 80 other folks from Larimer County as we do some week-long intensive training on emergency management and wildfire response. So just wanted to share that all with you. All right, Courtney, could you pull up the agenda? Because I keep having this MSN and news thing keep popping up on my screen and I can't get it to stop. Okay, so let's also talk about kind of next steps for us as a Colorado Forest Health Council. And I think Courtney was going to share about we made some progress in contacting and kind of gotten some more structure to our breakfast. So I just thought maybe you could share about that a little bit, Courtney.
Yes, I think the next step. So I've met with Julia Scanlon. Yes. And she shared lots of great information and resources with me. And then there's a few decisions to be made. I could reach out to both contacts. There's two different spaces available at the Capitol. One is called the Old Supreme Court, and apparently that's kind of up on the main floor where legislators and staff are naturally moving around. She would recommend this space. It's a little smaller, but it feels a little less formal, but it's definitely in the path of people. The other location is the West Foyer, which she said people have to kind of go out of their way to reach this space, but there's more room if we wanted to have chairs or a presentation, if we wanted to have a projector or any sort of larger materials. She was certainly recommending the more casual, in the way, more accessible location, the Old Supreme Court contact. I'm happy to reach out to both if that works. I think I would just want to hear from this group. Should I check, every Thursday and Friday in January of 2026? I could just get the whole availability. If you guys have any no-go dates, let me know that. So I think that's one of the next steps. So maybe we can talk about that, and then we can talk about cost, which I also got some information on anticipated costs.
So I'll just put my 2 cents here. I have been in both spaces multiple times. And if we're trying to really talk with folks, I do recommend the Old Supreme Court hallways. It is tight, but people do fill in, and you mostly stand. But if we have a presentation sit down, I don't think they will do that because they're going in and out of session, and they just want to come in and talk. So that would be my recommendation. My only question for that, Courtney, is they said larger materials. I know sometimes they're putting up the signs, and we wanted to have storyboards. Is there still a way we can put up storyboards somehow, whether on the back? Because I know we can put a table there with food and stuff. Can we put up storyboards either on easels or on benches or some of the ledges? What does that look like?
I will ask the contact that she shared with me about that to make sure that it's possible.
So, and we want to put in what they think, which one they prefer. Julie, and then Mr. Morgan.
Yeah, I agree. I think being where they have to come by you is it's just a recipe for success. My 2 cents.
Mr. Morgan.
I would agree. I think I think if I'm thinking of the right place, the old Supreme Court would be best. And I think, as early in the session as we could do it. I think a lot of people, after a while, they get busier and busier and they kind of get mind calluses, and you're going to have a bunch of new representatives and everything. I think you want to approach them as soon as possible. So that would be my 2 suggestions.
Okay.
I also think they're excited and open and not drained, and their brains are more open to listening. They're not right now. I had some conversations with a couple of them last night saying, this bill's going to cost the county $500,000. I don't care. We like our idea. I'm like, okay, well, thanks for your feedback. So
Now they're pretty linear. They're pretty linear.
huh?
I said right now they're pretty linear.
Yep. Anybody have any strong passions or desires for the foyer downstairs? Okay, Courtney, sounds like you've got your kind of direction there.
Great. The other information that Julia gave me, I asked her about an estimated cost, and she said, at least for food, they usually spend between $750 and $900 for food for 100 people, and that includes breakfast burritos, vegetarian and with meat, fruit trays, pastries, and coffee. She shared the catering company that she has worked with. I'm happy to reach out to them and get more information. And if anyone else has contacts in the area that they've worked with, or if anyone has seen people kind of DIY, certainly not making our own breakfast burritos, but maybe we could put in a large order and pick them up ourselves.
Yeah, we could do that. Mr. Morgan.
I'm sorry, you broke up there for a minute for me. 750 to how much?
To 900.
Okay, now it almost sounded like 5,900, and I kind of had a little bit of a heart attack there. All righty.
I was gonna
That
say,
would be a large range.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm sure there's some close by people that we could also add. Yeah, those would be really expensive eggs. Well, eggs are really expensive right now. Come by my house. Mine are laying a dozen a day. So I think that would be reasonable. And then maybe we have some, I don't know, maybe we can pare that down and just have some burritos, because I know everyone loves burritos down there, breakfast burritos. So maybe we can ask around. Then I'd be more than willing to come down early and grab them and bring them, and bring some kind of heated bag, or not heated, but insulated bag to keep them warm. And then we could have them keep warm until it's time. So if we want to just get some prices on that, or I could ask around too. But that sounds like a
Yeah.
reasonable budget. Mr. Morgan.
I just sponsored a similar deal like this for our annual meeting over there. I sponsored the breaks for our meeting, and I think that was 500. And I could try to scare up some funding for this. I don't think it would be way out of reach, or partial funding. I don't know how you wanted to approach that, but I would commit to it personally as a company for some funding I don't know about as an association, but I would do that. So I don't know what your plans for work for that.
That's very generous. Would we have to disclose who, well, we just have to write who was, like, his private company who paid for it, right? And that would not be a
I'm not
conflict.
familiar with this moment of like figuring out how to acknowledge and, how we go about sourcing. So maybe this is something that we could talk to Daphne about, maybe once the
Yep.
session ends and she becomes a little bit more free. How we'll go about doing that.
Yeah, I think that's parking lot question for sure. Mr. Morgan, and then Pat.
Be helpful, and I don't care. I don't want to do the wrong thing by disclosing or not disclosing or breaking any rules or anything. All I'm saying is that that I think it's a great idea, and I like to be helpful for it. And we do this kind of thing, not all the time, but fairly often. And I don't know the legal ramifications of this one. I don't want nor seek any acknowledgement of it other than we don't get in trouble doing it. Okay?
Great. I don't think it's anything about getting, well, we want to thank you for your generosity, but also I think I think you have to just acknowledge who paid for the food for them as well. Since they're eating free food, they just have to know, I think, who's buying their food. Pat,
Yeah, I was going to volunteer that the Turkey Federation could help out Mr. Morgan, and fewer donors. It looks like we're each given a smaller amount of money might be helpful. I do think getting some feedback from your staff would be beneficial. The other thing I would offer is if you like the idea and I can make it happen and all of that kind of stuff as we plan this, I'll look for a professional bakery, and we'll have some sugar cookies made that have a turkey, a tree, and a water drop. And I don't know, Julie, maybe a power line or something. We'll figure something out. But I think something like that represent all the values that we bring to the table would be really cool.
I think that's a great idea. And we might be able to place one of those with maybe a piece of paper on each of their desks. So that even if they then have, when they go to their desk, it's like, we talk to us and then here's a cookie. Thank you for coming to TCADES today. I think that's a brilliant idea. I will probably want a couple. And Pat, if you have an extra hard copy, I'd love one from the Wild Turkey Call. No, I think that's a great idea. I love that. Great idea. Okay. And Julie.
I was just going to say, when we know a little bit more about, the how sponsors help with the food, I can certainly check with our foundation and see if, again, I think a 3-way split's even more, it's even more helpful than a 2-way split. So happy to make the ask and see if we can get behind some cookies that have
a power line.
A wind turbine or something to represent.
Oh, that's a great idea. Well, I think we do have multiple sponsors. It also kind of with Amendment 41 and stuff just helps kind of make everything seem a little more copacetic. But there was one that always raised concerns. So I think this is great. Okay. And I see Commissioner Medina had said some things. So great. Let's see. And so now we just need to see if we do storyboards to show some of the stories. And we can always see if someone wanted to donate food. So let's bring those ideas back to our meeting in May. And I think I might suggest that when we have the Forest Health Council, and I'm going to be gone, I'm going to probably take a vacation after a year and a half. So I think we might see if we want to just meet 1 week in May towards the end and give everybody a break with Mother's Day and after our Forest Health Council meeting. So, and then we can do an update because then give staff a chance to get through the end of the session and get all the bills and have a really good update because they're going to be super, super busy at the end. And so I just thought, giving everybody a little break. So I wanted to kind of vote on that as well. But talking about the storyboards and I know Christina's not here, but how we can share some of the success stories and show pictures of and showing how mitigation saved people's houses. So
I'm here, Commissioner, and yes, I'm happy to help with that.
Oh, great. Maybe you and I can, if we tell you, Courtney, when we're going to maybe meet one-on-one, and we publicly notice that Christina and I could meet one-on-one since she just lives up the canyon from me. Would that be okay? Okay. Would everybody be okay with that if I work with Courtney? Anybody against that? Okay. Okay, now we have more done. Anything else? Great idea with the cookies. I can't wait. That's going to be pretty cool. All right. We might have to make a sticker. I would sponsor the stickers if we wanted to do that. So, because I could get those made pretty quick. Mr. Morgan.
in these kind of events, which I've participated in a lot of times, we call it swag, the giveaways. But the swag, some swag's pretty usable and some swag isn't. I bought, I don't know how many thousands of pens and this kind of thing with logos on and I don't have a particular one, but some kind of a unique item that people actually use a lot is I find it has to be identifiable. They have to use it a lot. It has to reach a broad range of people and hobbies. And I've seen, you know, there's the bottle openers of years ago. Now I'm really dating myself, but bottle openers were big or whatever. But obviously there's the keychains, and now we don't even have keys anymore for our automobiles. But that swag that people use, I think we should try to identify something like that if we could.
Well, we'll have to think about that because that comes with another cost. But the stickers we could do for $100 or less. But I just had a thought. We have that visual of that 30-year forest vision, and it has a turkey and a tree and a power line. So if we had that kind of look like maybe that already created front, that would make a nice connection between, you know, I'm sure we could find pieces and put them together if the artist would be okay with that, or the force or DNR. So then that would kind of make that connection and it help kind of reinforce that plan. So just thoughts about that too. So just thinking out loud. Any other thoughts about this? I think this is a great, you know, if we do it well the first time, this is something that we can build upon. But I do think now looking at the calendar, we should look at trying to schedule some of those days. And Thursdays and Fridays work well. And here's an idea that I have is we usually, most of you, because we've been meeting every 2 weeks and always on a Friday, Fridays are interesting days because they usually are trying to get out. A lot of them are gone by noon. And I'm not sure, maybe we should double check with some folks who have done this, which day works Thursday or Friday. But there is the weather. So they'll start on January 7th, probably, right? Or the 14th. I think it's the 7th. Because I think the 14th would be too late. So we would be looking at either the 16th or 23rd. And I think the 23rd would be better because that first week would be pretty chaotic. Or the 30th. Anybody have any thoughts on that? I think towards the end of the month. I'm just looking at the calendar. Anybody have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'll say I do. I agree. I mean, I think letting folks get settled into the session and then trying to focus their attention strikes me as the right approach to get people to pay attention. I think a lot of them are going to be just getting into the groove at the first part of the month.
I agree. Okay. So we have some more. So we can look at those last 2 weeks, the 23rd and 30th, Courtney. And Fridays or Thursdays for folks. If we do a Thursday, we know they're definitely, because the Senate, like I went down last Friday. Was it last Friday? And I was down there probably right after 10:30 and Senate was already adjourned and heading home. A lot of people were gone. And the House was they were all in doing their thirds, trying to get out. And so they couldn't come out. They were focused on trying to get their end of the day done. So I would recommend we try to do Thursday first, because I think Fridays they're ready to get out of there. So, so I think maybe we should look at the Thursdays, just on second thought. And then we could always have our meeting the next day and debrief and share all the conversations we had.
That sounds great.
Does that
I have an
sound-
action item to reach out to the contact at the old Supreme Court, and I will look for Thursdays later in January. 2026.
Because it's probably going to fill up real quick, knowing how that goes. Okay, any other thoughts on that? Mr. Morgan?
Just real quick, what exactly do you think you would want on your sticker or your cookie? I have a reason for asking because I have a family member who does this kind of thing, commercial art on a much bigger scale for a living. And I think I would ask her to work on it a little bit. If you wanted, it would, I can't call her in advance because she's headed to Scotland this morning, but I think that she has a great deal. She's been a book designer, book illustrator, commercial art entire life, and she's done some things for me in the past. So if you're looking for a logo, she's made a lifetime of it for the last 55 years. So,
I'm not sure if we're looking for, yeah, something like, I'm not sure about a logo, but just kind of, we thought that forest, that picture, and I think it was in our Forest Health Council packet for the in the end of April when we're all in Pagosa. It has, that's making it look similar, but I don't want to make the artist feel like we took her design, but it would, that to have it similar to what that looks like there. There was one that had a tree and a turkey was underneath it. And then there was a power line and I think the idea of a, I don't know, there's images there. The what?
I just didn't want to leave anybody out, and I would just ask her of it. As a favor, if she would do this. I mean, she's designed stuff for the timber industry pro bono plenty of times and worked with us. So I just thought if there was something you specifically wanted, I'd ask her to take a look at it or see what she could do.
Yeah, and whether it's a wind turbine or some kind of power line or something, a turkey, the tree, that would be,
Okay.
that covers it, I think. And maybe a stream by to make sure we talk about watersheds. So,
Okay.
Yeah, and Mr. Morgan, we call that in our MRI, we call that time, talent, or treasure. Not everybody can give
Yeah.
money, but some people can give their time or their talent to pull things together. And I think that's awesome.
yeah, that would be great. Okay, so we've got a lot of stuff forming so we can present on to the full council. And I don't know, maybe we just need to make sure no one's against it, but we can say we seem to have the finances covered. So that would probably the only vote, but I think we just have to maybe make sure that everyone's okay with these ideas. So, okay, let's move on to the next item. So, Courtney, let's see, where am I pull up my thing? And next steps for us, I just wanted to again go back to maybe not having a meeting until May 23rd and give everybody a break. I know it's kind of off cycle. Would that be okay? Does that work for Allison and Courtney?
I'm just looking at the calendar. In order to make it off cycle, that means I would add a meeting on the 23rd, and then we would likely meet the next week, the 30th. Like, because these are already scheduled on the calendar, indefinitely, I don't want to change every single week. But if you guys want to
Okay.
meet on the 23rd, we are scheduled to meet again on the 30th.
Let's just do
Or
the
we
30th
could meet
then.
on the 16th. Okay.
Yeah. Well, you'll be meeting without me, so that's fine. I just thought since the session ends the week before that, it may, if we want to have some updates, it might take staff a little while, like James and all of them, to kind of help get all the information, because we probably want a rundown of all the bills. But you guys could go ahead and have the meeting on the 16th and the 30th, but I figured we just have the meeting for the full Forest Health Council. Just give you guys a break, but it's up to you all. We don't need to do the 23rd. If we have one on the 30th, that one's fine.
We can
Allison.
also cancel. Yeah, go ahead.
Yep. What if we, oh, maybe Courtney, what if we cancel the 16th and the 30th and just meet on the 23rd? Yeah. Courtney, then you can
Cool.
keep the rest of the every other week cadence on our calendars, but just cancel those.
Yeah. Cool. Great.
Yeah, does that work? Yeah, that works. Because then I just reorganize May, but then June and July all stay the same, which is nice.
Cool. Does anyone have an opposition to that? Because I want to make sure that, okay. All right, let's do that. Okay. And also, I figure we'll regroup after this session's over and figure out what this all looks like. So let's move on to our next topic with Allison and Courtney about, because we have about 25 minutes left, about federal advocacy, and they've got some answers for us. I'm going to turn this over to Allison and Courtney.
Okay.
Courtney, you can go ahead and lead.
Okay, great. So last week or 2 weeks ago, we sort of walked through a menu of options for Forest Health Council engagement in legislative issues. And they ranged from, and they are in the meeting minutes if anyone wants to look at them, but they ranged from something as simple as getting updates from the delegation at our quarterly meetings to something as integrated as the full council is discussing legislative policy and making formal recommendations. So there's a lot of things on the menu. We went through them last week. I'm happy to go through them again. But some of the questions that the committee had was, how much can staff support these efforts? Because we do have an associate director for federal affairs, and Allison and I met with her. We learned more about what her capacity is. And so before we dive too deep into this, I wanted to share what her availability is, and it is quite limited given that she already supports DNR in its full federal engagement. So she said she would be available to attend the quarterly Forest Health Council meetings and give a small legislative update if that would be helpful. She's also available or able to essentially feed us bills that are related to forest health. She already is tracking federal legislation, so she said it would be pretty easy to take any bills that are related to forest health and put them in a spreadsheet that would be available to us. However, she's not available to attend the committee meetings, and she isn't able to support in the kind of nitty-gritty writing recommendations, interpreting the policies and things like that. So it would really, if the committee wants to take on federal legislation, Lacey would be able to, provide us the legislation that does impact forest health, but she wouldn't be able to help support in the analysis or the drafting. And there was one more question about would the Forest Health Council be able to just get a copy of DNR and the State Forest Service's sort of opinions on federal policy and join or sign on. And this is something that we weren't able to answer in our one short meeting. And so we're going to be diving into that a little bit more.
So I'm going to share an article that I think is timely. And this was in the Colorado Sun earlier this month, just recently. And this is about the DOJ cuts and how counties are taking over. And Chaffey County is mentioned here, Allison. And I'm pretty sure you saw this article. But I think this is kind of timely and relevant to this conversation about federal policy impacting counties in Colorado. So this is also helping me fuel some of the efforts I'm trying to do here and expand in Larimer County, which was helpful with showing my colleagues why we need to kind of what I call save ourselves. And so I just wanted to think this is a really relevant article. So I'm just sharing that with you as an individual commissioner who cared a lot about this topic. So not as trying to influence you, but Allison, would you like to add anything to that?
I just think this is still an evolving conversation. So I think we just appreciate your patience as we dig through, this added level of engagement. And I think it's absolutely appropriate that the committee and the council get more engaged as we just have an ever evolving portfolio of whether it's new bills or executive orders or things that are coming in. And then, you know, if we wanted, for our committee meetings, we wanted maybe a little bit more of a robust update. I will, on federal affairs, I can work with Lacey and be able to provide a little bit more context if we need to for our Friday committee meetings.
Okay, hold on. Too many articles. Mr. Morgan, was Mr. Morgan's hands up? I'm not sure if it was up there in first Pat, but let's do Mr. Morgan and then Pat.
In the past with different, excuse me, with different groups, excuse me, getting an update, whatever conduit that we can get, where we get an update directly from federal legislators, staffers. A lot of these staffers are very well informed and very intelligent, and they're used to doing this for a lot of groups. And then where you can have any kind of a format where they can give you a short presentation or rundown of what they're doing, and then you can have a chance to ask questions. I have found in the past has been super helpful in understanding it and doing this. And I mean, it's a great conduit for information. And I don't know at what point we would like to do that, but if you want to engage in this, and I think we may have to, I think hearing from the legislators themselves or their staffers on what they want to do and what their plans are, and then we can look at how we can mesh into that or be effective. So I would suggest some kind of format where we get a briefing from them on what they think the issues and upcoming challenges are.
Courtney, was that to ask him a clarifying question, or can I let Pat go?
No, you should go ahead, Pat.
Okay, Pat, thank you.
Yeah, I was going to offer, we track legislation in DC. In fact, we have staff there. I'd be happy to share that. Maybe the most efficient route would be to share it with Allison. You could add it to or compare it with what you get from Lacey. But if you don't need it, that's fine too.
And
I mean, I think it's great to have, sorry, Commissioner, but I do think it's great to have intel from many different sources. And of course, us at DNR, and I'm looking at you, Christina, too, with the Colorado State Forest Service, right? We are actively engaged on a weekly basis with so many of these things too. So Pat, I think that would be great, especially if it's not like too much extra work, of course.
Yeah. I was just going to say the exact same thing, Allison. So great job. Great minds seek alike, I guess. But I think that anytime we can bring all the different perspectives or information, there's a group of us kind of meeting offline who are just bringing all the information of what's happening in different areas and sectors with all this uncertainty, and just trying to make sure we're all aware and how we can support each other. So it's everyone who can't be all places at all time, but there's certain things you hear from different sources, and I think that's really however we pull that all together. I do think that as we go forward, going slow to figure out how we do this, so we do it, well, but I think any information that we have as a full Forest Health Council is going to be really helpful at this point. So anybody else have questions or thoughts on this? Anyone else seen this article before that Carl sent? What was the right time for me, Allison? You saw
I
it?
just want to, yeah, I did.
Yeah,
And
go ahead.
Can I just mention one other, I mean, I think we all know on this call of something that happened yesterday with the cuts to AmeriCorps, or at least the potential freeze. And I know that this is, well, I just, from DNR's perspective, we have a long-standing contractual and working relationship with the Colorado Youth Corps Association, who, of course, is, anyone working on those conservation corps has a large amount of their budget coming from AmeriCorps, and that is one of the only ways that these conservation corps can exist. So, we haven't heard any changes to what's going on in Colorado yet. But Scott Segerstrom with the Youth Corps Association, is really urging all of us to, speak to our federal partners on why this is something that should not go away or be fully slashed. So I do have a one-pager from Scott about the impact that the Youth Corps Association has in Colorado, and especially with the Coast Walk grants and the work that we're doing on wildfire mitigation and forest health. And if you are interested, I would like to pass that around. And if you happen to have a moment to have a conversation or you're in that, then you have a couple more tidbits of the incredible impact of youth conservation corps.
That was going to be on my, see, we're just lying today, Allison. I was going to bring that up in the next item because I did get contacted by our Laramie County Conservation Corps and Mally, and he's very concerned. And so we had funded, I think our first year put $1 million into that to kind of help. It's, but would love to see, it would be great to have that, those talking points, because I will be having conversations a lot, and I'll be in, obviously in the DC area in about a week again. So it'd be great to have hard copies to give people incense. So, and I know Congressman Neguse, this is already on his radar, just so you all know. So, all right, but it's always good to bring it up again. Any other ideas on this? I think I would like to present this as an item. I know you're going to present a little bit, Courtney, but I was going to put this in the update for the legislative committee. So, and I'll just warn you, I may not be able there at the very end of the meeting, but I'm going to be jumping on for this portion of the meeting. So I just wanted to say that I think we have to still kind of get from the full Forest Health Council, kind of, because I don't think we talked about this with them, to say that we're starting to explore this and make sure we get a thumbs up and thumbs down. So just wanted to make sure you all knew that was going to be kind of something we've been talking about this, but we probably should tell them we're adding this on. And I don't know if that needs to change that statement in the bylaws, if we need to add federal policy in there as well, looking at that statement. So I need to pull that up, but I just thought we might need to address that as well. Courtney.
Thanks, Commissioner. Yes, I was kind of thinking the same things. What are the next steps? What sort of approvals do we need? And maybe I can work with you on how to share this with the council, because I know federal legislation or engagement is not technically in the charter or the statutory duties. And so I think, taking on something new, of course, I think would be a good idea to run it by the council, get their buy-in as well. And I think stressing that, this committee's main focus, or the primary duty of advising the legislature and General Assembly, will stay the same, but where feasible and slowly and with capacity, you would also like to engage in this other legislation. So we can work on how to share that. And I can also go back and look at the committee charter and the bylaws and see if there's maybe anything that needs to be adjusted.
It'd be great to address that then, so we can get a vote then, so that if we do have to make some pivot over the summer, then we will be able to move and engage. That's why I'm thinking if we don't have that in the charter, we probably need to see if we can get that vote or that permission at that time. So because otherwise we won't meet for a while, and we might need to, who knows what we might have to respond to. And of course, we're always telling them, like we do with the legislative, we haven't had to do that this much this year because we didn't have a lot of movement with no budget, but this might be an area where we can at least advocate or put in. I see your hand, Ms. Morgan, just a second, that we that we can give a report, right? We won't do something without sending it to them, or let them know we're going to take action. But I do think we don't want to miss the opportunity to get approval while we have them. So, Mr. Morgan.
One of my basic rules in situations like this is to follow the gold stream. And where does the money come from and where does it go? And in all these programs we talk about with the State Forest Service and so many programs through the state, everything that we're working on, a large portion of the money always originates from federal funding sources, as you just mentioned. So to me, it's a basic tenet that legislatively as this committee that we're going to follow and try to impact that, because it really is the funding base for probably 3/4 or better of what we do. So, I mean, I don't think it's outside our purview. I don't think you can get the thumbs up from the whole group, but I think the argument that I would make is coming from the other side. We would be remiss if we didn't do that, because that's how we are able to get anything done. So I think the argument that I would like to see you make is that for self-preservation, as you've just mentioned, we have to try to lobby or affect, whatever you want to call it, the source of revenue that we use for these programs, and we'd be remiss if we weren't going there. I just like to take a more positive, aggressive stance to that, is what I'd say.
I hear you. I just figure it's better for us to ask permission than forgiveness with the council. So I just want to be careful. So, Miss Julie, but I hear you. You're right. Everything all is connected. Julie.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I agree with Mr. Morgan. I mean, I think they're inextricably linked here in terms of the funding source and the direct impact to our state and, even at the local level. So I think I agree. Let's raise it. Let's make them aware and get some concurrence that they see the connection and they don't think it's outside of our purview, but kind of feel like it's all together. But
So one thing we're starting to do, not that we're, our Health and Human Services wanted to submit a question for one of the hearings for the senators to ask for the new deputy health and human services person or something, because we had some concerns. And so we were trying to work on some language and submit a question. So that also might be things we can send, questions for them to ask as committee of things. So, or the interior, I don't know, just an idea too, that we can, there's lots of ways we can insert in here. So, anyway, just thinking, but I agree. It's all so connected, that we have to, advocate and leverage where we can. So any other thoughts with this? Okay. So on to the last item, and I'm going to let you guys try to get out here early. It's just a few minutes. Looking at our agenda, next steps or topics for next cycle. We would like you, I'd like you to start thinking about that and what that looks like. And of course, we're going to be talking about the same things, but I figured we should have part of the budget, of course, and what state budget looks like. We know it's going to be worse next year. And so that would probably be a big one. And maybe staff can come in and share what, the picture is probably not as rosy, and then what that looks like. And then also figuring we have some of the biomass study and some of that work to look at probably by in this summer, and when we start in May and June. So just wanted to say that. And also we have the Lerner study, which is and Mr. Morgan, I hope you got a copy. I asked staff to send you and contact you. I hope they did. And I asked them to have present to you. So I hope they did. But I think that would be great for the first topics that I'm thinking of. And then also just continue to how we advocate. But we might have to, like you said, we reach out, maybe we start to craft questions or statements to send to our Congress folks and their staff right away this summer. No time like the present. So those are my first thoughts on some topics for going forward for the next cycle to start with. We have our recommendations, but I figure we can probably learn from some of this engagement about what items we might want to look at legislative priorities. So anybody else have any burning desires? And also Conservation Corps. That's what this is where I was going to bring that in. Addressing the Conservation Corps and the youth and how important that is. I'm ready for Friday. That would be something we could raise right off the bat federally and locally about preservation of that. So that was the other one I wanted to do. Maybe have, we have these talking points but haven't present. So I see, Pat, your hand's been raised.
Yeah, thank you. There's another group that is calling themselves Work right now. And they're a group of private sector folks who are trying to address some funding issues around wildfire and forest health. Allison and Christina, I know you're familiar with that group. I think it would be good to include an interface between that group and the Colorado Forest Health Council, because I think a lot of our issues will overlap, and they also bring in some things that maybe we don't think about all the time, like public health and, the effect on commerce, that kind of thing. So I'd like to propose that in there somewhere. And Allison, you could probably spearhead that for all of us.
Pat, Commissioner, may I speak? I'm so happy you just mentioned that. I was in an interview yesterday with the work group. I'm sorry, it's so many acronyms in our wildfire world, but it's WWIRC. And I shared with them the Forest Health Council statute and one of our, I'm a little slow this morning, but one piece of our legislation is really aligns with what this work group is doing. And I did mention that I would like an interface with them as well. So we're on the same page, Pat. I just looking to you all, whether it's this meeting or next, how, when, what type they would like to engage with us as well. And really believe the Forest Health Council is for their group an untapped resource and they think of it as the same way. So we know that they have some nuggets that, because it's a little bit more of a diverse group of public-private partnerships there, but they think the same thing about us. They want to get in and see, what are we thinking on this? And what are you all thinking on this end? So thank you so much for bringing that up.
So Mr. Martin, I'm going to go, I think that's a great idea. So let's add it to the list. I'm thinking we could try to go ahead and see, that would be June maybe, so we can make sure everyone's aware of it. So Samantha, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I mean, timely thoughts from Pat and Allison. Just +1 for private-public partnerships, and we can do some looking at the economic development office side, but just also wanted to acknowledge that I've had some recent conversations with CSU, CU, and others just about their concern for the workforce pipeline, because I think a lot of their students have had their eyes set on federal positions and natural resources and now are understandably concerned. And so I think perhaps we could bring, and I'm not sure who this is yet, but bring someone to the table to talk about state, local, private, just other opportunities for workforce post-college. So just thought.
Excellent point. And I was thinking about, we still wanted to, in case what happened was with our bill, we've kind of had some of that pipeline, but what does it look like at the other end? So now that that's changed. So great topics. Now, Mr. Morgan.
I would love to hear more about this. And oftentimes I find it best I would love to hear a presentation from this group, from the new group to us. I would like to get the input on what their aim and concerns are. And I don't care whether it goes through Allison or whatever, but I would love if we could get some time aside or make them a presenter or whatever to us so that we can learn about what they want to do and where they're trying to get. That would be hugely valuable.
Cool. Okay,
And we,
we're almost out of time. I thought we would just kind of be quiet and I'd be saying, hey, everybody, please contact them to go. But we have quite a robust list that I think will take more than one meeting for each topic, quite frankly. I think we have some good ideas. So let's try to, so we'll have the Forest Health Council meeting, then we won't meet till the 23rd, and we'll kind of do a debrief and we'll get that agenda ready. And then we'll plan to maybe to have Allison and Pat have this group come in the first week, our first meeting in June. And then we'll kind of fall out the rest of the ideas for agendas. And I think, Courtney, does this align with our calendar, but working backwards? Does this align, or are we out of sync now?
I was just making myself an action item to create a new calendar for the 2026 legislative session. The one I have right now sort of just goes through the 25 session. So let me get that sorted in the next couple of days, and I can also send it with the follow-up information from this meeting.
Cool. Because I don't remember when we started having sessions, because sometimes we moved that up and only had them there in the fall, where we had them all boom, boom, boom. But I'm thinking maybe we want to start with the federal things and all this other stuff. We want to stay active and be taking action. That's what I'm hearing from all of you. Thumbs up that you agree. So we should look at that calendar and, okay. Anybody opposed to any of that? Okay. Wow. This is cool. I didn't expect the ending of that meeting. That is really cool. You all are amazing. You are all such amazing resources and engaging partners. And I am so thrilled to know all of you. How we all come together to work on this is just outstanding. And I just want to say thank you. This has been a great meeting, in my opinion. I love it. You just made my whole day, and I mean that. So thank you all. So I feel like we've covered it and we're out of time. So anybody have any other burning issues other than to wish us all a wonderful weekend? Courtney.
I'll just name what I put in the chat, which is that I shared the schedule for the in-person events at the end of April. We have an incredible tour lined up and an in-person council meeting in Archuleta County. So please look at the schedule, look at the agenda, and RSVP. Even if you can't make it, please RSVP so that I don't have to email or call you later asking for that. And I understand the form doesn't work for everyone. I'm receiving email RSVPs, which I very much appreciate, and I'm moving that over into the spreadsheet. So just let me know one way or the other.
Great. So, and Courtney, maybe you and I can coordinate a time to talk beginning of next week or something before I head out for 8 days to Maryland to be in tough classes, which will be good. Okay.
Definitely.
Anybody else? Otherwise, I'll take a motion to adjourn, and I wish you all the very best. Have a wonderful weekend with your family and loved ones and friends. Motion to adjourn?
so moved.
Second.
Great, Julie, thank you. Anybody opposed? All those in favor? Yay, we're adjourned.
Aye.
Okay. Have a great weekend. Take care.
Happy